Hey guys, it's Face TV. I'll be checking out 10 former WWE wrestlers wasted in AEW. Okay, let's go.
Ever since the company was founded in 2019, AEW has proven to be a true alternative for wrestling fans and wrestlers. The company has been the biggest competitor for WWE since WCW shut down, and just like the Monday Night Wars, we've seen a lot of former WWE wrestlers join AEW. Many ex-WWE stars have been able to reinvent themselves in All Elite Wrestling, and some have had even more success than they did in WWE. However, the wrestlers in this video have not. For starters, number 10, Buddy Murphy. Debuting in NXT in late 2013, Buddy Murphy was mainly used as a tag team wrestler for his first few years in WWE, but he did see some success during that time. Alongside his partner, Wesley Blake, the duo won the NXT tag team titles, where Matthews made history by becoming the first Australian to hold gold in WWE. He also got engaged to Alexa Bliss, which, while not a championship, is still a big win in my book. From there, Buddy moved to the Cruiserweight division, and, in a career highlight, he won the Cruiserweight title in front of 70,000 fans in his home country at Super Showdown 2018. Things got even better for Murphy as he joined forces with Seth Rollins, and the two captured the Raw Tag Team titles. Another memorable run for Buddy Murphy on the main roster was his feud with Rey Mysterio, which featured a love storyline with Rey's daughter, Aaliyah. Man, all the ladies wanted to be with Murphy. WWE was clearly getting invested in Buddy, as he even picked up a victory over Seth Rollins in November of 2020. However, this push came to an abrupt end, as Buddy Murphy's final WWE match was only a few months later in the 2021 Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Fans saw the untapped potential Buddy had, and so did AEW and its owner, Tony Khan. In early 2022, Buddy Murphy was signed by AEW, now competing as Buddy Matthews. It seemed like a good move, but to be honest, it's been a little underwhelming. Unlike his WWE run, Buddy hasn't had any meaningful singles feuds in AEW. He debuted in the House of Black faction, but he's the least featured wrestler of the group. He rarely gets time to talk on TV, and he mostly competes in the Trios division. Even though the House of Black did win the World's Trios title and had a nice run with the belts, Buddy just hasn't had the chance to stand out like he did in WWE. With Matthews' real-life fiance, Rhea Ripley, currently one of the top stars in WWE, it's not too hard to imagine that he'll make the jump back to his former company as soon as he's able to. Number 9, Aleister Black. Speaking of House of Black, there's another member of the group who isn't achieving as much success as he did in WWE. That would be the leader of the group, Malachi Black, formerly Aleister Black in WWE. Just look at some of his accomplishments prior to becoming All Elite. 2017 NXT Male Competitor of the Year, 2017 NXT Breakout Star of the Year, 2019 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic winner, and former NXT champion. Of course, Aleister's main roster run didn't go quite as well, but he did have a 36-match winning streak after debuting, even defeating the likes of Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles. Unfortunately, it didn't amount to much, and Aleister Black was released in June of 2021. Unlike most WWE wrestlers who have a 90-day no-compete clause after they leave the company, Black had an unusual contract and made his debut in AEW just 1 month later. Now called Malachi Black, the ex-WWE star got a big push in All Elite Wrestling, as he immediately entered into a feud with Cody Rhodes and defeated him twice. But that didn't last long. As soon as the Cody feud ended, Black's momentum slowed down, and he wasn't featured nearly as much as he was in WWE. Sure, he is the leader of the House of Black, but as a singles wrestler, Malachi Black isn't positioned as a top talent. Overall, Black's time in AEW has been incredibly inconsistent, and he hasn't picked up any big singles wins in ages. Much like Buddy Murphy Matthews, it's not hard to imagine that Black will leave AEW as soon as he can to join his wife, Zelina Vega, back in WWE. Number 8, Jack Swagger. After losing the World Heavyweight Championship, the All-American American never quite reached the same heights that he did during his first couple of years in WWE. With that said, it's pretty fair to say that it's unlikely the man formerly known as Jack Swagger will ever win a singles title in AEW. During his over 8-year run in WWE, Jack Swagger competed in multiple WrestleManias, got his We the People character over, formed a popular tag team with Cesaro, and had a major rivalry with Alberto Del Rio. However, by the end of his WWE career, WWE had moved on from Jack Swagger, so when he joined AEW, it seemed like there was potential for a comeback. Now using his real name, Jake Hager made a surprise debut at the end of the first episode of Dynamite, joining Chris Jericho's Inner Circle. Hager Swagger's role was mainly to be the enforcer of the group, though he did occasionally compete in bigger matches with opponents like Jon Moxley. But for the most part, Jake Hager has been treated like a joke in AEW. In the Jericho Appreciation Society, he fell further into the background and rarely picked up substantial wins. Over the past couple of years, Jake Hager's most notable moment featured him feuding ring over a purple hat. For a legitimate MMA athlete and a former world champion, this seems like a bit of a letdown. Number 7, Keith Lee. It's no secret that Keith Lee's main roster WWE run didn't go so well. When you compare his time in NXT to his run in AEW, it's pretty clear which company used him better. Before WWE, Lee was an independent standout for years. His great look and incredible athleticism helped him finally receive a WWE contract in 2018. One of his biggest moments in WWE occurred at the following year's Survivor Series. That night, Lee became a star when he eliminated Seth Rollins from the men's Survivor Series match and was the second to last competitor, only losing to Roman Reigns, the sole survivor. Lee also held the North American Championship and later won the NXT Championship. And then, yeah, that main roster run didn't quite go as planned. Lee did have a feud with Randy Orton and defeated him at Payback, but that's about it. After a very brief run as the Bearcat, Lee was released and showed up in AEW 3 months later. At first, this seemed like a major signing, and Lee would finally receive the opportunities that WWE never gave him. But so far, it just hasn't worked out. Sure, Lee did hold the tag team titles with Swerve Strickland, but he hasn't held any singles gold, and he spends most of his time tagging with random partners. Arguably, Keith Lee's biggest feud as an AEW wrestler may have been against Shane Taylor, which didn't even happen in AEW. It was on Ring of Honor. AEW just doesn't seem to know what to do with Keith Lee, as even his breakup with Swerve never received a payoff match. While Lee has suffered multiple injuries during his time in AEW, he isn't treated like a major attraction like he was in NXT. While it's possible he might turn things around, at this point, it's not looking likely. Number 6, Rusev. Out of every wrestler who's gone from WWE to AEW, perhaps none have been used in such a confusing way as Miro. Known as Rusev in WWE, he was never a top star, but often competed against them in big matches. However, you could tell WWE had high hopes for the Bulgarian Brute. Early into his main roster career, Rusev picked up wins against former heavyweight champs like Mark Henry and The Big Show. Those victories eventually led to him facing off against John Cena at WrestleMania 31 for the US title. Even though he lost the match, Rusev did receive one of the coolest WrestleMania entrances ever when he came out to the ring on a tank. With that said, it's also fair to say that Rusev wasn't always used well in WWE. Most fans probably want to forget the over-the-top love storyline with Lana, Dolph Ziggler, and Summer Rae, or another weird romance story where Lana was having an affair with Bobby Lashley. Those weren't great, but at least Rusev was a featured wrestler on TV. Plus, you can't overlook the Rusev Day character. After being let go from WWE, Rusev changed his name to Miro and debuted in AEW. While fans were excited to see him become All Elite, Miro was strangely teamed up with Kip Sabian as the best man. It was a bit of an odd pairing, as Sabian wasn't a big star, and Miro, who was a star in WWE, kind of felt like his sidekick. Then, after a few months, the team went their separate ways. It turned out to be beneficial though, as Miro then won the TNT Championship. Following this, it seemed like he would finally become the main event star fans thought the former Rusev would be in WWE. But after he lost the title to Sammy Guevara, Miro hasn't done much of anything. In fact, no joke, from January 2022 to April 2024, Miro has only wrestled 11 televised matches. At this point, after being part of AEW for a few years, it seems unlikely he'll ever again reach the heights of Rusev Day. Number 5, John Morrison. The John of many names is best known as John Morrison for his lengthy WWE run. During that time, he became an ECW World Champion, a 3-time Intercontinental Champion, and held Tag Team Gold 6 times. While not a main event star, John Morrison was always kept at a certain level in WWE. In AEW, well, he hasn't seen anywhere near that level of success. 6 months after leaving WWE, Morrison showed up in AEW, where he lost to Samoa Joe in his debut. However, he only had a few more matches before he disappeared from the company. John Morrison eventually returned about a year later, now being called Johnny TV, and joined QT Marshall's QTV stable, but that team didn't see much success or last very long. Since then, Mr. TV has mainly competed in AEW's Ring of Honor brand. Sure, his feud with Dalton Castle has been fun, but due to Ring of Honor's smaller fan base, not many people are seeing it. As I said, Johnny TV Morrison was not a main event star in WWE, but was used regularly. But in AEW, he's mainly a comedic wrestler and doesn't seem like he's positioned to ever have another major run. Number 4, Jeff Hardy. The charismatic enigma is a wrestling legend. He's been one of the most popular wrestlers of the past 30 years and has won a ton of singles and tag team titles in WWE. But in AEW, he feels like another wrestler. At first, it seemed like a good fit. Hardy is an all-time great tag team wrestler, and along with his brother Matt, the two can compete in major matches against some of AEW's best teams, like the Young Bucks and FTR. They could also help make stars out of younger tag teams like Top Flight and The Acclaimed. None of that has really happened though. When the Hardys fought bigger names, it rarely received any storyline support. Now, to be fair, Jeff didn't come into AEW under the best set of circumstances. He had been let go from WWE a couple of months earlier after walking out of a tag team match. He was also suspended from AEW only a few months after his debut when he's arrested for a DUI. When he was ready to return to the ring, AEW didn't seem to trust Jeff in a featured role on TV, so the charismatic enigma no longer felt special. To date, Jeff Hardy's most notable singles match was losing to Jeff Jarrett in the bizarre Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match. That's a far cry from when he was one of the most popular wrestlers in the world. With Jeff Hardy entering his late 40s and his history of outside the ring troubles and inside the ring injuries, it's hard to imagine he'll ever come close to achieving the kind of success he had in WWE. Number 3, Ember Moon. Known as Athena in AEW, she's arguably the most talented woman on the entire roster, but the problem is, just like with Johnny TV, Athena's not competing on the main roster in AEW. She's stuck in Ring of Honor. After being let go by WWE in the summer of 2022, the former NXT Women's Champion was signed by AEW. At first, it seemed like a great move. After her debut, Athena was picking up a series of wins on TV. This led to a TBS Championship match against Jade Cargill at All Out. Unfortunately, Athena came up short and has rarely appeared on TV since. Following this, most of her matches have been on smaller shows like Dark and Ring of Honor. Yes, Athena is the longest reigning ROH Women's World Champion, but to be fair, only 4 women have ever held that title. This is nowhere near where she was positioned in NXT, where she was delivering standout matches at takeover events against Asuka and Shayna Baszler. Number 2, Paige. It's incredible that Paige is competing in a wrestling ring after what happened in December 2017. During a non-televised WWE show, the anti-diva suffered a devastating neck injury and was forced into retirement at just 25 years old. It seemed highly unlikely that we would ever see her compete again. Even though her time as an active wrestler in WWE was cut short, Paige still accomplished a lot. For starters, she was a key figure in the women's revolution. Additionally, she created an incredible moment when she won the Divas Championship against AJ Lee in her first match on the main roster. Even after retiring from in-ring action, Paige was still featured in a prominent role on WWE TV when she became the general manager of SmackDown and later managed the Kabuki Warriors. In July 2022, Paige surprisingly left WWE and 2 months later made her AEW debut. Even more shocking than that was that she was there to wrestle. Now known as Saraya, she immediately set her sights on the biggest star in the AEW women's division, Britt Baker. The two wrestled at Full Gear 2022, with Saraya picking up the win. The following summer, she had one of the biggest moments of her career when she won the AEW Women's World Championship at All In front of her home country. But things quickly went downhill from there. The former Paige lost the title in under 2 months. Then, her Outcast faction with Toni Storm and Ruby Soho failed to catch on with fans and eventually broke up. While the group was regularly featured on TV, they never came close to reaching the heights that Saraya had experienced in WWE. Since then, Saraya has mainly been featured in a comedy storyline with Angela Parker and Ruby Soho. To make matters worse, most of the story has happened on Rampage, AEW's third-tier show. It just feels like a waste of Saraya's talent. After so much excitement with her return to the ring, it was crazy to see how fast she fell. And number 1, Daniel Bryan. Now, this might be a bit controversial, but hear me out. Out of everyone on this list, Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, has probably been used the best by AEW during his time in the company, but he's still nowhere near the level of popularity that he achieved during his run in WWE. For starters, even though he's been with AEW since September 2021, Bryan still hasn't won a championship. But in WWE, the American Dragon was a title-holding machine. 7 months after he debuted, Daniel Bryan won the United States Championship. On top of that, Bryan held the World Heavyweight Championship, Intercontinental title, Tag Team Championship, and was a 4-time WWE champion. Even on his way out of WWE, Daniel Bryan was still a major player as he headlined Night 2 of WrestleMania 37. Danielson's AEW debut at All Out 2021 was incredible, but the company soon turned him into a villain. The problem was that fans didn't seem interested in booing the GOAT. While Bryan Danielson is still delivering some of the best matches on the planet, he's never been the top guy in AEW. He seems to be having a blast competing in dream matches with a variety of opponents, but few of those matches have any storyline support behind them. There's no doubt that Danielson is still easily one of the best wrestlers today, but he's not consistently presented as such in AEW. Speaking of Daniel Bryan, to see his first and last matches in WWE, watch the
Yeah, good video by Tap Out Corner. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.